Having to push through hunger, addiction, and bad company to make it big makes everything 10 times harder. Michael Irvin went through all that, I tell you, because you might not realize it just by watching his awesome plays during his 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys. The man snagged 3 Super Bowl wins during that time, but how good is Michael Irvin actually? And what was it that made him play like he did? Let's find out. Michael Irvin's life is anything but simple. As a kid, he faced hunger, cramped living conditions, and the temptation of hanging out with the wrong crowd. But he also had serious skills on the field, tons of confidence, and a sharp tongue always ready to fire back. Trouble and controversy seemed to follow him everywhere, from high school to the NFL, even after retirement. He always seemed just a step away from something that could derail his career. Despite all the ups and downs, Michael Irvin managed to become a legendary wide receiver in the NFL and even made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Michael Jerome Irvin was born on March 5th, 1966, to Pearl and Walter Irvin, making him the 15th out of 17 kids in the family. They all squeezed into a tiny 2-bedroom house in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. To make more space, Michael's dad turned the porch and garage into rooms, but it was still cramped. Michael ended up sharing a big bed with 4 of his brothers all through his childhood. Money was tight, so meals often consisted of basic stuff like cereal with tap water or sandwiches with just mayo. Growing up in a rough neighborhood with not much money around, Michael could have easily gotten into trouble. And he did hit a bump when he got suspended from Piper High School during his junior year because of what his family called a minor misunderstanding. His dad, wanting to keep him out of trouble, decided it was time for a change. So, in 1982, Michael started attending St. Thomas Aquinas, a private Catholic high school in Fort Lauderdale. When Michael Irvin moved to St. Thomas Aquinas, the school wasn't known for its sports. The only big athlete they had was Chris Evert, a tennis star. But when they saw Irvin's talent, Piper High School tried to stop him from playing there. They made it hard for him to transfer, but his dad fought for him. Even though they had to go to court, Irvin finally got to play. But just before his senior year, tragedy hit. His dad passed away from a brain tumor. It was tough for Irvin, and he even thought about quitting football to take care of his mom. But she encouraged him to keep going, and he had an amazing senior season, getting all-state honors. When it came time for college, Irvin stayed close to home and went to the University of Miami. That's where he became known as the Playmaker. Miami was becoming a football powerhouse thanks to players like Irvin and a change in attitude brought by coaches like Howard Schnellenberger and Jimmy Johnson. Irvin's college career had its ups and downs. He had some incredible games, but also some tough losses, like when they got beaten badly by Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl. In his last year at Miami, Irvin didn't put up his best stats individually, but the team had a great season. They didn't win the championship, but they were close, and Irvin played a big part in their success. One of the biggest moments in Michael Irvin's time at Miami came in a thrilling game against rival Florida State early in his senior year. It was a close one, but Miami pulled off a 2-6-2-5 win, keeping their undefeated streak alive and setting the stage for a shot at the title. After some dominating wins, Miami found themselves facing off against one-ranked Oklahoma in the national championship game at the Orange Bowl. It was a tough battle, but Irvin sealed the deal with a game-winning touchdown catch, helping Miami secure a 2-0-4 victory and the national title. It was the perfect way for Irvin to end his college career. As Irvin geared up for the NFL draft in 1988, he left behind a legacy of confidence and swagger at Miami that still echoes through the team today. When draft day came, Irvin was picked 11th overall by the Dallas Cowboys. He was the 3rd receiver taken in the draft, with Tim Brown and Sterling Sharp going before him. Brown, who was Irvin's rival from Notre Dame, tried to team up with him later on, but Irvin wasn't having it. He wanted to make his own mark, and the rest is history. When Michael stepped onto the scene with the Dallas Cowboys, the team was being led by their longtime coach, Tom Landry, but they were going through a rough patch, having not made it to the Super Bowl in a decade and coming off 2 losing seasons in a row. Despite the losses piling up for the Cowboys that year, Irvin kept showing flashes of his potential, but it was in 1989 that things really started to shake up for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones took over as the owner and made some bold moves, including firing Landry and bringing in Jimmy Johnson, Irvin's college coach, to lead the team. The Cowboys struggled, finishing with a dismal 1-15 record. To make matters worse, Irvin suffered a torn ACL and only played 6 games, so a rough start for Michael. Luckily, in 1991, the Cowboys finally started to get their act together. Led by Aikman, Smith, and Irvin, they were a force to be reckoned with. Irvin was tearing it up, leading the league in receiving yards. Their hard work paid off, and they made it to the playoffs for the first time in ages. But they got knocked out pretty early by the Lions, which was a bummer. But they didn't let that get them down. The next year, they came back even stronger, and Irvin and the crew were on fire. They got their revenge on the Lions and went all the way to the Super Bowl, where they absolutely crushed the Buffalo Bills. The following season was more of the same dominance. They made it to another Super Bowl and beat the Bills again, but behind the scenes there was drama, and their coach, Jimmy Johnson, ended up leaving. Despite the change in leadership, they still had a strong season in 1994. Irvin was on fire that year, leading the league in receiving yards with over 1,500. The Cowboys were on a roll, winning 11 games and making the playoffs for the first time in ages. But dang it, they got slammed by the Lions in the playoffs. Then came Super Bowl XXVI against the Bills. And man, did the Cowboys show up. Irvin was unstoppable, scoring 2 touchdowns and helping the team to a blowout win. The next season was like deja vu with the Cowboys dominating again. Man, let me tell you about Irvin's glory days. In '95, he was on fire, putting up some of the best numbers of his career. I mean, over 1,600 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. But even with Irvin's stellar performance, the Cowboys couldn't quite keep up the pace in the playoffs. They made it to another Super Bowl, though, and they won it. But that was the end of their dynasty. When Irvin got inducted into the Hall of Fame, his buddy Emmitt Smith couldn't stop praising him. He said Irvin was the most competitive guy he ever played with, and he was the heart and soul of their team. Then came some personal struggles for Irvin. He got into some legal trouble, and there was even a scary incident with a teammate during training camp. It got pretty bad, but they managed to keep it under wraps. Irvin kept playing hard, though. He had one more great season in '98 before tragedy struck in '99. He suffered a severe spinal cord injury in a game against the Eagles, and that was it for his NFL career. After retiring from the NFL in 2000, things took a rocky turn for Irvin. Just weeks later, he got arrested on drug charges. It was a tough time, but he didn't stay out of the spotlight for long. A few years later, he landed a gig as an analyst on ESPN talking about football. But trouble seemed to follow him. He got booted from ESPN in 2007 and faced more accusations, though nothing criminal came out of it. But hey, even with all the drama, Irvin still earned a spot in the Hall of Fame in 2007, and he stayed busy since then, popping up on TV shows, giving commentary on football, and even trying his hand at Dancing with the Stars. Family-wise, he's got 4 kids, and his son, Michael Irvin, I played football just like his old man, even at the same college, the U. Despite the rough ending, Irvin left behind an incredible legacy. He made the Pro Bowl 5 times, got All-Pro honors in '91, and his stats speak for themselves. He's definitely one of the greats of the game. Be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.